It's been a while since I've rushed to the mic to get in an episode, but here I am. So I don't know if I'll release this for December or January. I have an episode planned for December. I'm still in the video editing stage because I'm trying new things to make it catchy, and I just really want our YouTube channel to succeed and to reach women just like you. So I'm not sure if I'll release this for December or maybe January, but I've been toying with an episode, and maybe this will be our December episode because I think it just captures what I've been going through this year and the lessons learned from this year, which for me has really been a healing year. I mentioned this in September when I came on, but I've been thinking a lot about lessons I've learned in healing this year and these gems, these morsels of wisdom that I was going to say I wish I could pass on to my younger self, but some of this is too heavy for her to have ever woken up to, because it's just, I wish all the years that she was kind of naive and hopeful and dreaming of better perfected relationships. I don't want to take any of those years from her. She needed them. That spirit of hopefulness brought her through some really tough times, so I would never drop these hard truths on her. But what I will share with you who have grown in your own ways this year, who've found your own voice, hopefully, or you're in the process of finding your own voice, gathering the fruits of your own experience. Here are just some of the recovery tips for anyone who has survived, is surviving family trauma, abuse, or relationship trauma and abuse. I've never told my full-ish story or updated my story. I think I did share some of my story in maybe episode 5. And I would be interested to re-listen to that now, because what I've learned so much about the dynamics within my own family that I was completely blind to, things that, kept me in so much confusion for so many years of my childhood and adulthood, and just wondering what is going on here? This is beyond. I just cannot understand it. I can't wrap my head around it. And this year, a lot of the puzzle pieces just fell into place, and it was like, whoa. And that is all I need to know. The degree of dysfunction is just so great that it's I don't need to have the full picture of everything, and I've gotten what I need for me, and I don't think anyone could really piece together the full picture without a time machine, right? And even then, because in the moment I think humans are just so complex, we're not so aware, especially if we're operating from our trauma brain and we're stuck in a trauma response. We're not aware of what's driving our responses to things. And so this has been a really eye-opening year, and also a year of really coming to acceptance. And this acceptance really landed for me yesterday. It's so interesting because I was recording I have a new masterclass. Maybe by the time you're listening to this, you have heard about it. You joined the first live launch of it, our first live premiere. I'm going to be doing it through the YouTube channel, but you can sign up through the website. So just go to uniquebelle.com, and I will have it either in a banner, buttons. It'll be easy to spot on the site. And the new masterclass is Mastering the Womanly Arts. And I've been if you've been following my journey, I've tried so many things. I've given you so many freebies and different resources, and it's always been a struggle for me to kind of milk my message. And I feel like I talk about so many different things, and what is it? What is that thing that I'm doing here? What is it? Because it goes beyond just having a better orgasm. It goes beyond attracting a soulmate or whatever. It goes beyond all of those things. And I would say it even goes beyond healing. And it's like, what is this? What is this work that I've been doing? Like, what am I, what is the thing that I'm circling around and honing in on? What is it? What is it? What is it? I feel like it's like right there and I can't reach it. It's this thought that's right in my head and I can't get to it. What is it? And at the start of this month, I got the idea to do a masterclass. I've really been working with my deeper self, practicing what I teach. Really been working with my intuition. Recently, I've accessed, my own kind of. I've been working with my spiritual guides, my own Akashic records, things that I never, I've always wanted to. I was like, oh, I'd love to, develop that intuitive gift. And they're coming to me. And it's been a whirlwind. It's been amazing. But I got this idea to do a masterclass on mastering the womanly arts. And as I started to get the information, right, I started to let it stream through. And then I sat down, I recorded this long audio memo for myself on a walk. And I started to listen back to it. It was very positive, stepping into beyond femininity. So really stepping into your power, your creativity, your potency, mastering your transmission. And I was listening to it and I was like, it's missing something. It's missing something. It's missing that thing that grounds my experience and this teaching. And of course, as I went through it and I was listening and I was working on the slides, life delivered a person, delivered an experience, and I was like, whoa, I see what it's been missing. And it's the thing that I've avoided my whole life, which is attaching to the pain and the hardship and the hurt of my story. All my life I've always wanted to put forward this bright, glistening glow of light, because I don't want anyone to feel what I felt. I didn't want anyone to experience what I felt. And it's like, in repeating it, and I recognize there are people who cannot hold some of the things that I've gone through, and it's been a learning experience this year of not holding them in judgment or disdain, because they cannot hold the fullness of me, still loving them, allowing their limits to be their limits, because I don't know what informs that limit, right? It could very well be that hearing, they had to carry other people's burdens for so long, right? They too maybe were enmeshed with a caregiver, and so they just kind of have a freeze response. It might not even be their intention not to hold space for me. But for all my life, I didn't want to kind of burden anyone with the heaviness inside. And so I've shied away from sharing my story and my business, or going too deep into it, or talking too much about it, even though I am clearly in the depths. I'm so clearly here for the deep dive. I'm so clearly here to hold radically safe space. But I honestly think I've just been experiencing kind of like a cognitive, let's see if I can get this word out, cognitive dissonance. I don't know why that trips my brain up, but clearly I don't think I've been seeing myself fully. It's almost like I've been in it and not connecting the dots that I'm in it. So you may have experienced me as yeah, of course, you talk about that all the time. You talk about healing all the time, girl, that's what you do. But in my own perception of myself, I don't think it's been as clear. And so I haven't really gone into my story, and I don't know if I ever will, because I don't want to re-traumatize myself, and it may trigger rumination in me, which is one of the things that I've really been working through in the past 2 years. I've only really found acceptance on the other side of the grieving process, in peace, like this week. Like, this is the first week where I was like, okay, I'm gonna be okay. And it's like, it's settling down. It's settling down. I found a way of understanding what has occurred, and that in a way that it makes sense for me spiritually as well. And I feel it in integrity. Spiritually, I feel like my soul has like helped me. My deeper self has really helped me in this healing process. And I'm not like judging the anger that I felt, the disappointment, even the hate, the rage over the situation. But I've really had that integration moment. And so for me, I don't want to live in the story. It's not that I just don't want to share not so good experiences with people. I just don't want to live in the story myself. And I want to have places in my life where it's just about unique enjoy, right? And I've seen so many more moments like those in my life. I had the opportunity to experience so I can't get the words out. I've had the opportunity to experience more moments of joy and bliss because of this beautiful work that I do with pussy and tantra and meditation. It's been just absolutely life-changing for me. But back to the masterclass, I was sharing in the masterclass just really briefly, who this work is for, and a category of women who might feel deeply called to work with me and who are going to receive a lot from this masterclass. And I kind of tip my hat to all the other trauma survivors, all of us who, we're in CPTSD recovery, codependency recovery, we're healing. And I felt this crack in my voice. And like, I just really held that. And if you join me in the masterclass, you'll hear that moment. And I stepped away. I went for a walk, and a long walk. And I was just kind of coming to terms with things, and I cried a lot. I'm not someone who cries very easily, but I cried, and I kept crying literally until midnight, 1 o'clock. I was crying and crying and crying and crying and just grieving the pain that I experienced, and also grieving the pain that other people have experienced. Like, I could see how in their kind of dealing with me, they were trying their best to deal with their own inner suffering. And I've realized in the making of this masterclass that really what I've been doing is coming to terms with womanhood and learning how to be a woman when I had no examples, no great examples, so much confusion. And yeah, it's a coming of age story. And not even really a coming of age, because this journey, I believe, happens at every age, especially if you have experienced CPTSD, if you've experienced narcissistic abuse, that it's like you have to walk through, you need a rite of passage into that other stage of adulthood where you've survived and you can actually thrive. Like, you need that transition period, because it's just the shifts that you need to make, the new choices you have to make. Like, it's stepping into a whole new version of yourself. And I feel like in my grieving yesterday, I finally kind of landed in my womanhood, which is like so weird to say, right? And I'm sure I'll have many years where I'll say that again, because that is the journey, right? But landed in it in a way that I've never felt before. I do consider myself a very forgiving person, but I have had a lot of rage this year. I've had a lot of, you know what, God, if you could torch this person, I wouldn't mind. Right? And so that's my first recovery tip is releasing our need for justice. And this is a hard one because when I think of justice, I think of social justice. I think of justice on all scales. And the thought of releasing our need for justice is like, this is a hard pill to swallow. It's hard. Oh my God, it's hard. And this is where there's a distinction though, because when we're talking about justice in terms of you violated a law and you're being brought to justice, you've committed a crime against humanity or a crime against a group of people or a person, and you're being brought to justice. In our society, we have means to bring about that justice in a way that is like, okay, we had a social agreement. You have violated this agreement. Here are the consequences. And when you're talking about someone who has survived complex trauma, narcissistic abuse, and you have family systems where the extent of the harm is so intricate. It's so intricate and sometimes so sublime, like you can't even put your finger on it. The transgression, right? You can't even right? And it's like, what is that proper punishment for emotional hurt, right? Especially when we look at the fact that we all hurt differently for different intensities, for different periods of time. How do we put a penalty on that? How do we name the consequence for that? Something can happen to one person and they'll be like, I feel pretty okay about it. And another person, they're dealing with rumination for 2 years, right? Like I was, intense anxiety, life disrupting anxiety, the kind of disruption that literally makes it not worth it to seek any kind of reconciliation, or because it's just the stakes are too high. The cost is too high. Losing 2, years of optimal performance and relationships, your career, etc., because you are in such a diminished state, it's not worth it, right? And so what is the price? What's the penalty for that? And we can want justice to be brought to our abusers. We want to be the hand that brings the justice sometimes, like, well, now you know who you're fucking with, right? You want to kind of, I imagine red pandas. If you've ever seen a red panda, they're super cute. But when they are in their defensive mode, their defensive strategy, they get really big and they try to scare you. Or maybe I'm thinking of baby red pandas, but I've only seen them at this size on social media, like on YouTube videos and stuff. I've only seen them in this one size, so I honestly don't know how big they get. I imagine not very big, but they get into this like puffy and like stance, right? And it's like, you're so cute though. But I imagine we want to be the big bad wolf, even though we know in our little empathic hearts, in our little codependent hearts, we truly can't really ever become the villain. I mean, we can, of course we can, but when your alignment is with loving people and peace, like, it only goes so far before you're like, this is not who I am. This is not who I want to be. and I can't let this situation bring me out of integrity with myself. But we can want that justice. And what I've come to realizing, and what made me rush to the mic, is that the justice that I seek is simply the natural occurrence of karma. And karma is not, you'll burn in hell, da da da, like the Christian version of karma, right? That's not karma. Karma is not, oh, you cheated on me and now the same thing is happening to you. That's not karma. Karma is simply the consequence, or the sequence of events that occur when you give a certain energy. It's just an outcome. Like, you did this, here's the outcome. You put forward this energy, this came to you. It's not, oh, we're dictating what the karma is going to be for the other person, which I think we can get into in our vindictive and righteous anger, which we are justified in, right? In our hurt. It's okay to feel that way. It's valid. But karma is just the consequence of what occurred. And if you can get to a place where the loss of the relationship with you, or the change in the relationship with you, is the justice, I believe that's where you can find peace. I'm not saying if there is actual, like, someone has done something criminally wrong to you, they've hurt you in such a way that you can charge them and you want to charge them, go for it. If that's what you feel led to do, and if you can. I know some survivors of trauma, and you're usually judged for this, of not wanting to go through the criminal justice system, can be really abrasive on the soul of a trauma survivor. So you kind of have to know where you are in your process, what you can personally handle. Is that going to be super re-traumatizing? Is it going to leave you with even more scars? And so I'm not here to judge what you choose, but if I'm talking about the kind of abuse and experience where you can't necessarily take someone to court, right? Where you just can't. We don't have that in our society to do that, you know? I'm talking about more of like subliminal harm, almost emotional wounding, where, yeah, it's hurtful, but you can't be persecuted for it. You can't be prosecuted for it. In those cases, let the end of the relationship be the karma. Let the change in the relationship be the karma. The distance that's now created, the space that's now created, the ways in which you can't operate the way you were before. We can't joke like we did before, right? Like, let that be the karma. Let that be the consequence. And you might say, well, it's more than that for me. I struggled for years after this. It impacted all my other relationships. Da, 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 da. I want their relationships to fail, right? You have no idea what is on someone's journey, what's on someone's path. And the speed of healing is different for all of us. They may very well have years of turmoil in their relationships to contend with. You have no idea. So be real with yourself, be honest with what you're feeling. And I would say this specific revelation of, I don't need, right, God to strike them down or something, it really comes after you've been real with yourself. That really should have been the first tip I gave you. But like I said, I'm just off the cuff speaking because I felt like running to the mic. But really the first tip I should have said is be real and honest about the hurt that you feel. Stop trying to be the good girl that's got it together, the person who doesn't complain when life gives them lemons, who just tries really hard, who is committed to seeing the good in people. Oh my God. I know some women in my life like that. I've been that woman, right? You're just crap fitting. It's one of my favorite terms for it. But stop trying to, in the midst of your hurt, make everyone feel comfortable and even make yourself feel comfortable. It's a shitty experience. It's fucked up. You hate those people. You hate this experience. You hate it. Own it. Own it. Own it. Own it. Own it. It's a feeling. It's not a black mark on your character. It's a feeling. I feel hate. Doesn't mean you're a hateful person. It's in this moment. I feel hate. And I wish I knew that. One of the insidious narcissistic tactics that I've had to unlearn is this idea that if I have a justified reaction to harm, then I'm a hateful person. It's one of the ways that it's been twisted on me. Like, yeah, I hurt you, but if you don't forgive me, you're hateful. And instead of, oh, I see I hurt you, I'm going to take accountability for that. How can I be better? I'm committed to being better. I'm so sorry. Right? This is, instead of the healthy response, it's, if you don't forgive me, you're hateful. And so for a long time, being hateful is not something I wanted to be. And so to admit to myself, I hate these people. In this moment, I'm experiencing hate. Not just this, like, I hate these people and I hate these circumstances. And I hate what I experienced as a child, and I hate what I experienced in adulthood. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. And when I, in that moment, said, I hate this, I hate it, it was like I finally was able to get to the other side of that fucking emotion. For so long, it's like I haven't been able to get to the other side of that. I've been doing everything except owning up to that, because I'm afraid that that means I'm an awful person. I'm out of integrity with my work, with my spiritual practice. I can't have that feeling. And as soon as I owned it, I was able to really enter the grieving stage. Yesterday I was crying because I never allowed myself to actually feel the full extent of what happened and the impact it had on me, and how angry I was, and how sad and aggrieved I was for what happened to me. And on the other side of that, after admitting it, I was able to actually be like, okay, this has had this impact on me, and I don't have to perform and be the perfect, joyful, happy person around these people. They've lost access to that person, and I don't need to feel guilty about that. I don't need to feel guilty that I don't show up in that way anymore, that they don't have permission to come into the inner core of my life. You don't get to know that about me anymore. And I don't need to feel guilty about it. It's not because I'm hateful that you don't get to come into that inside space, that sacred space where the real me shines and I show up as the real me. I don't have to feel guilty about that. It is your actions that has caused this break in our relationship. And so I don't need to feel responsible for then trying to mend the situation. You are responsible. You are a responsible party in this relationship. When you own what you feel, when you actually allow yourself to feel it, and yes, it's scary. I'm not going to tell you it's easy. I've been avoiding this for years, right? I'm not going to tell you it's easy. It isn't. It's hard. It's hard. And I didn't get to this place of being able to hold myself like this way on my own. I had to get help. I had to get coaching. I had to receive tools. I'm not some special unicorn who just has the strongest, most loving heart in the world, right? I am not some unicorn person who's able to just forgive, like, oh wow, I don't know how you do that. No, it's practice. It's dedicated practice. It's seeking help. It's opening up to healing and doing the work. So no, I don't expect you to do this right away tonight, right? If you're not here yet. But take the steps to start to feel your feelings and be honest about your feelings. It is not a sign of an I don't want to say unhealed. I'm like looking for the word, because I feel like we have so much in the healing lexicon now, and everybody's trying to be on their best behavior when it comes to their relationships and being healthy, and I want to set boundaries in a healthy way. Like, we are not giving ourselves room to be real. We're not giving ourselves space to own the shitty parts of our experience and be like, yeah, I fucking hated that. Like that was not okay. For a hot minute, I hated that person. I'm not gonna lie, I did not enjoy that person. If that person fell off the face of the earth, it would have been like, oops, you get what you get. It's okay. It's okay to feel that way. Does not mean that is all that you are. It's not like, okay, you are experiencing this moment of hate and that's all that you are. No. Right? You are having a human experience. Another thing that I want to add to this conversation on seeking justice seeking, is that there are some people who you don't have to be the person to bring them to justice, right? If they are continuing to do their harm on others, they're going to continue to experience karmic experiences, right? Energies are going to balance themselves. You're going to harm one person, people are going to leave you or whatever, right? There's always going to be consequences, even if it's not like the kind of consequences that the part of you that's like so angry right now would love to see. It's always going to be consequences energetically, somatically, right? And how we store stress and whatnot in our bodies. Like, nobody gets away with anything, positive or negative. But there are certain people in your life that you need to be okay with letting them get away with how they treated you. There are certain people in your life that you need to be okay with letting them get away with how they treated you. I know, it's a tough pill to swallow. Another tough pill to swallow. Maybe this episode should be titled Tough Pills to Swallow on trauma healing. Because there are certain people who you don't want to be in cahoots with. The cycle will keep you seeking justice for a long time, because as one cycle ends, they'll traumatize you in another way, they'll abuse you in another way, right? And so there are certain people who are too big and bad for you to go seeking justice for on your own, at least, right? You gotta let the universe do its own thing in that department, or just let them get away with it. Because when I came to this conclusion this week, I was really, still stuck on this rumination that had been going on for about 2 years on seeking justice about something. And like, I would think of myself almost like on Dr. Phil. Like, in my head, I would have this thing playing out where I was on Dr. Phil and I was confronting this person in front of a big stage, and the stakes were just so high, and just like feeling this hopelessness of they're gonna twist this so many different ways. And it was this season, this fall, where I would get stuck ruminating on that, and for the first time I had a voice in that rumination that was empowered, and I started to see people kind of coming over to my side, because I had felt so beaten down by this person. And like, there's, I'm not going to change anyone's mind. I'm always going to be the villain in this story, and any way I react, they're going to use it. They're going to try to get certain reactions out of me, and it's just going to be like this awful thing. I had basically blown up what I had experienced within the family and like the circle, the community, onto like even the bigger stage. Like, oh, my anxiety was telling me this person's gonna try to take me down in the future, like in some big way. And this week, I I finally put an end to that rumination of like, how can I bring this person to justice? Because I thought about when I first graduated college. Well, I don't know why I say when I first graduated college, like I've gone to many colleges. When I graduated college, that summer I came home to help my mom recover from her back surgery, and I was working at Urban Outfitters. I just got like a summer job, something that I could do while I was applying for different positions and whatnot. And I was working at Urban, and their policy, at least the Urban I worked at, did not have any cameras. They expected us employees to somehow manage the theft that was going on in the store. And there were certain instances where people were stealing a ton of stuff, and I was just like, there is no way I am going to chase any thief ever. Like, especially someone who's hauling away, like, if you got the balls to come in and steal multiple hoodies, multiple shirts, like, I'm gonna leave you alone. I don't know what you're carrying. I don't know what your getaway situation is. I don't know what's going on with you. Because for you to come through with a confidence to take that much product, like, I'm not the one. Honey, you can have it. You know what I mean? I'm going to keep my life. You take the clothes and I keep my life. I am not going to get into anything with you ever. No. So, policy be damned. If you guys want security, if you want to ensure your clothes, your products aren't stolen, that's on you. That's on the company. That's not on me, boo. Right? And so, likewise, there are people in your life, there's certain abusers, specifically narcissistic abusers, where you do not want to mess with them. You do not want, I mean, you can if you feel like you can do it. Like, if you intuitively feel that's the path for you, do you ignore this advice? But if you know that that's just going to cause you more unnecessary stress, it's just not going to be worth it. There are instances where I do think it's worth it. If they are, there's a definite defamation of character. There's, if it's something where it's like you can take it to court, take it to court. Because I do think sometimes having something institutional where you can kind of lay down the law, that will help them to back down. But if that's not the situation, if that's not what we're talking about, if they're breaking down your community and like talking bad about you behind your back, and let them do it. Because the people who really know you and love you, they're not going to fall for that, right? I've had situations where people who I wasn't even close with, this person was more close, like it's their friend. And because that friend, though, had positive interactions with me, who knew my character, they came back around and said, this doesn't sound like you. Like, what really is going on? And at the time, I was really like, did not want to have anything to do with this person anymore. So I didn't want to give any details. But looking back, I was just like, whoa, that is such a gift, And of course, I will not go back now and like, yes, I know so much more about what was happening to me. I had no idea, right? I didn't have the context of like, this is narcissistic abuse. Like, I did not have that context. I was just blown away. I didn't see it coming whatsoever. I was one of those people who were like, why are all these people constantly talking about narcissism, blaming everything on narcissism, da da da. So I just didn't have the context to understand what was happening for me. But yeah, there's gonna be people, even if you're not close to them, if they've been watching the way that you handle yourself, and if you've been living in integrity, nobody can really mess with your name like that. No one's gonna fuck you over that to that extent where like, I always imagine like the stereotypical like being kicked out of the tribe scenario where you've been ostracized. Like, we live in such a day and age where if someone knows your character, there are going to be people who know you, who see your character, and they won't fall for the lies. And eventually abusers, controlling people, narcissistic people, they out themselves. So you don't need to take care of any kind of justice. Let them let them do them, right? There will always be energetic consequences for everything you do. You do not need to balance that scale. You do not need to balance that scale. What you do want to do, though, when you have that feeling of justice, that need for justice come up, what you do want to do is recognize that there is a part of you that feels threatened, who feels that their safety has been threatened. They are in a threat response. They're terrified. Recognize that there is a part of you that is scared, right? Who does not feel safe, and act accordingly. I don't mean stop seeking justice and let people do whatever to you. I mean allow justice to unfold in its own way, right? Let people out themselves. Let the consequences continue to unfold for them. You do not need to walk alongside their journey, making sure the math is mathing, that the universe is, is bringing up the check correctly. You don't need to do that. You don't. Again, not talking about if you are dealing with something that you can take to court, go and do that, right? I'm not talking about those scenarios, but this is not a message of just kind of turn the other cheek. No, that is not my message. My message for you is acknowledge the threat to safety and act accordingly, right? Acknowledge that there's a part of you that's like, no, right? That is asking you, begging you to set a boundary and follow that boundary. Do not interact with this person. Do not engage with this person. Trust yourself, right? Acknowledge, give yourself that space, that safe space where you can come to yourself and be like, yo, some don't feel right about that person, or I don't want to let that person into my life. Stop trying to make me, because you think you're going to be a bad person if you don't, right? How can we be more kind and loving to ourselves? There is no kinder thing than honoring your own boundary, honoring your soul's boundary, because when you connect to your heart's consciousness, and I have a whole episode on this, you can check it out. It's literally called Accessing Your Heart's Consciousness or something like that. You'll figure it out. It's not that hard. Just search through what's right there. It's very recent. But your heart does not want you to invite harm onto yourself. You are held in your own love. Your soul loves you. Your deeper self loves you. No spiritual guide, no divine being is ever guiding you to harm yourself by being in relationships with a harmful, abusive person. Never is that the case. Any kind of prescription given to you by a spiritual person or religious person that says you need to turn the other cheek, you need to just let them continue to do harm onto you, that is not truth. That's not what I have experienced. Now that is my truth. You might come back to me and be like, no, the Bible says you can da. That's on you, boo. But I'm telling you, that's just not it. And that's on that. This has been a really unorganized telling of my thoughts. So I'm going to need to probably do several episodes on this, because I'm not going to cover everything that I've learned this year. I do want to touch on forgiveness, and I want to touch on forgiveness and being real and taking your time to get to know people when you are in recovery, when you're in trauma healing, you're in the recovery process. So this is a really live and current this week experience, right? So I'm really talking about something that's happened really recently that actually turned out to be very beautiful. And it was learning that I had this thing going in my head. I had this program running in my head that said that being, I don't even know if it's naive. It's like being completely open, just letting people into your heart immediately once you've met them, letting them in immediately. That was a loving thing to do. And this week I had the experience of meeting some new people, And there was pressure for me to perform, for me to put on a smile and just like, yeah, and like, take them around town and da-da-da. Now we're best friends. And I chose not to do that. And there was so much that came up inside me of owning and keeping that boundary. And it blew me away because I didn't know what was keeping that in place. And this is actually another recovery tip that I want to give to you, which is that you don't even realize the thoughts, the programming, the ideas, the emotional framework that's holding up the dysfunction until you act contrary to how you were before. So if you were someone who didn't have any boundaries, who just like let people in immediately, you didn't vet people, when you start to move in a different way, it's like, oh my God, you have so much resistance that comes up, shame that comes up, guilt that comes up, like, oh my goodness, this person must think I'm an asshole, they must think I'm a bitch, oh, I'm harming someone else by holding this boundary, I don't want to do that, but I also don't want to let just anybody into my life, I don't know these people. And I just had a million of these thoughts come up, and it was like, oh my goodness, this is what has been holding that pattern in place. And what was really amazing in holding that boundary, keeping my boundary, is I had an experience with this person where I said, oh, I know that you're, maybe you, because, there were other people involved and they were creating a story around, okay, there was a narcissist involved, I'll tell you that. And they were creating a story about it because I wasn't performing and behaving the way they wanted me to. And I was just like, I'm sorry if you think I'm coming off as not trusting, or, it's fair, I understand, but I'd like to take my time to get to know people. And they were totally okay with it. And it was my first time having an experience where I felt normal. I felt like a normal person in a normal interaction. As crazy making as the thoughts that were coming up were, I realized I was just being a normal person, that this was normal. It's normal not to let people that you don't into your inner life. It's normal to take your time to get to know people. It's your abusers that tell you that you should do otherwise because it's convenient for them, right? It's controlling people who want to override that normal instinct that all of us have, which is, hey, you get to take your time getting to know something new, getting to explore a new person, getting to see if you guys actually click. You don't need to rush into anything with anybody ever. You get to have boundaries. And so as you're in your recovery journey or healing journey, know that you're going to be moving in a different way. You're going to initiate relationships differently. Naturally, what you have learned, it means that you're going to show up differently. And the way that you initiate interactions and relationships is going to be different. And that is not a bad thing. I had one of my guys, I was crying last night until just bawling my eyes out. And I was like reaching out to one of my guides, and they were like, yes, the experiences you had have changed you. But why are you grieving the old self? I was grieving as though like, oh my God, I've lost that sweet girl I was, and I'll never get back to that. And they were just like, why do you think that was better? It's wonderful that that version of you existed. I love that version of me. I love her to pieces. I love her. It's wonderful that she existed. But why do you think that version of you is better and that this version is like not okay? And it just kind of cracked, it like pierced the veil, and it was just like, wow, what if I just started to enjoy the woman I am now? What if I celebrated the strength that I have, right? That is not a bad thing, and it's only my abusers who have made me think that was a bad thing, that I was evil for demonstrating and having that strength to say no, to stand up for myself, to have my own voice. And that is not something to be ashamed of. There's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with the progression of my journey. Nothing. And so find a way if you can. And obviously I'm here, I'm a coach, right? Give yourself spaces where you can start to learn to hold two truths at the same time. Yes, your past self is beautiful and we love her heart, we love her spirit, and she has not gone away. You still have that inside you, but also the strength that you have gained through whatever hurt, abuse, trauma you've experienced is also so valuable. And you're not worse off knowing what you know now. You're not worse off having gained the inner core of resolve that you have now to go after what you really want in your life, and like not take any shit from anyone, right? Never ever put yourself back into those kinds of situations again. That is a positive, that's a gift. Allow yourself to be changed by the experience. For me, the point of acceptance really clicked in for me when I allowed the change to have happened. I stopped clinging to the past and a perfected version of these relationships that I wanted as a little girl. I stopped clinging and stopped making the experience wrong and who I am now wrong. And I really just accepted it. And I started to feel for, okay, where are the spaces where I can allow that shiny, brilliant version of me to come out to play? What are those relationships that I can show up as that bubbly person, right? How can I create safe spaces for her to play? And fuck yeah that I am this woman. Fuck yeah that I went through that and I came out stronger, because there are people who did not survive it. There are people who go through the shit you've gone through and they don't survive, and that's not anything against them, but it's just that's an invitation to just own that you made it out the other side and you did not lose yourself. You gained yourself, and you are gaining yourself, and you are getting to know yourself. And so finally, let's talk a little bit about forgiveness. Forgiveness. And I consider myself a pretty forgiving person. I think when you're a people pleaser, it can feel like it comes a little bit easier to you. But I realized the kind of forgiving I was doing before, I don't know if it was like fully there. Like, yes. And the kind of forgiveness that I got to last night, I've never experienced that before. That was my first time ever like experiencing forgiveness to that depth, where I mourned the pain and suffering that another person, that my abusers have experienced. I really just cried for them. And I am a no to allowing them to harm me. It's like I so see the hurt child in you. I see how you yourself were abused. And I don't even know if I can put it into words right now, but it's like I see the hurt in you. I forgive you for what you've done. I hold no anything towards you, no hate. The hate dissolved. I hold no hate towards you. I love you. Yeah. And I let the energy between us be what it is. I'm not mourning a perfected relationship. I'm not dreaming that things were better. I am in full acceptance of how your actions have impacted me. I'm not trying to force like some kind of reconciliation. No, it's like, it was just so, I've never experienced that before. It's like, no, I accept where we are. I accept that you can't move this relationship further because of where you are. I fully accept it. I fully accept it. And I don't hold you beholden to anything, to any of my own expectations of what I want. I'll go and I'll find that elsewhere. Like, you're free. It's like I set them free. I acknowledge the past, I acknowledge the present, and I realize I'm the creator of the future, my future, and I can seek. And it doesn't mean, like, I don't know how to explain, like, I just don't have any cross feelings about this anymore. And I wish I could write a handbook for you to get to this place. But what I do want to say on forgiveness is it comes in the process of feeling, letting yourself feel your heart, your hurt, the harm that has been done to you, letting yourself be honest about it, honestly grieve, and then it flows. Like it feels like just a sequential, it's something that flows. It's not something that you choose. It's something that flows. It's not something that you orchestrate. It's like in the moving towards better for yourself, in the moving towards healing and love, we find forgiveness, and we don't know at what point in the journey it's going to come up. So don't worry about being a forgiving person. I think to sum up this message, it's probably stop trying to be a good spiritual person, a good, perfect, good girl, whatever. Let yourself be fucking real. Be real about how you feel the impact. Move through the emotions. Let them change the way that you move in the world. Learn from them. And let forgiveness succumb to you naturally. We put too much fucking pressure on ourselves to be somewhere we're not. What if you accepted where you are now and the anger that you feel now? Anyways, I hope you've all had a wonderful year. And with that, peace, bye. Could you imagine? Well, that is kind of what I'm about to do, but wild, unique, wild. How are we going to just leave you on that note? But that is what I have to say. I think I've spoken enough. I have an open thing of yogurt. It's just like sitting on my desk because I made food, made some little, I had a girl dinner, but more like a girl dinner, a girl lunch, just randomness. I'm eating randomness. I have yogurt. At one point I hit pause and I ate a quesadilla. I don't even know what you can call it, a quesadilla. It was just, well, yeah, it was a tortilla and cheese. That was it. There's nothing else in there. No protein, nothing. Just a tortilla and cheese. And then I have my beets and berries with a little bit of lemon smoothie. Gotta get my iron up, y'all. Getting my iron up. So random ass girl lunch. But yeah, that's what I have to say. If I think of anything else, we'll have more episodes and maybe I'll film it in front of the camera, but I had no time to set that up today. Y'all, I'm trying my best. I haven't even gotten a steady flow of weekly videos out yet, and y'all are probably like, Unique, why you keep making promises you can't keep? I am trying, and we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. This has been a healing year for me. Give me a little bit of time and space. I've gone through some crazy ass shit that I did not cover in this episode because that's for me and me alone. But yeah, I'm trying my best. I apologize. I'm trying my best. And the thing is, I have so many videos filmed. I just haven't, it's the editing that's getting me. It's just such a big task and I'm not used to it. Editing audio is so much easier. Editing video and audio and like having it sync up because I record them separately. It's just so much. And then the closed captions. It's a lot. But that's my New Year's resolution. We're gonna get it done. So yeah, we'll continue this conversation. We'll keep talking. But I hope you had a wonderful year. Learn from my pain. Learn from my suffering. Just kidding. We're in this together. We're learning from each other. And if you would like to continue this conversation, I mean, come into the masterclass. In fact, I'm gonna eat and then maybe do an outro and come right back. So give me one sec. I'll tell you more about the masterclass, the free masterclass, in just a sec. All right, I've had my bites. Oh man. Well, I do want to say that even amidst all the craziness of experience this year and just like the healing and hermit mode and oh my god, that was going on, right? All the aha moments alongside that were so many spiritual breakthroughs and revelations, and I talked a lot about that on my podcast return episode, and just week after week, day after day, feeling like it's just been bubbling, and may it never stop, right? May this just be the journey that I'm on every single day, just getting deeper and deeper into my own essence and unleashing new spiritual gifts and just playing in this wonderful universe. It's just been so fun. That element of it has been magnificent, and it doesn't come without the pain, right? They've been working together, right? And so both of those things get to exist in this year, and both of those things get to exist in our life. I feel like I'm finally really accepting that. And the next episode is on detachment. It's on why do we pursue detachment, what it actually means, and you'll learn my own special views on detachment and how also detachment can be used to create harm. So we detach mindfully. We understand what it actually means to detach. And so with that in mind, I think these two messages will go pretty well together. It's like holding the heaviness and also not letting the heaviness weigh us down, right? We can hold and accept what has happened and look towards all that can be. You are powerful creators. I'm honored to be walking this earth with you right now. I love you. I really do. I'm crying now because I really do. I really appreciate you. And however our paths cross, deepen, I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful. I see you. I see you. Thank you. Thank you for being a part of my life and making my life my life. Your presence is felt. Isn't that funny? Isn't that a curious thought? That we are all making each other's lives our lives. You're not a side character. You're a part of this dance with me. So thank you. However this year is shaking out for you, may you also find a moment of reflection, breakthrough, whatever you need right now. Maybe it's just some fun. Wherever you are in the world, whatever is happening for you, I hope you have the space to be with whatever is coming up. And if you would like to come say hi, sign up for the free masterclass, Mastering the Womanly Arts, how to get anything you want from life, love, and the universe. And by anything, I do mean anything. Healing, abundance, love. If you want to know how someone makes it on the other side of narcissistic abuse, any kind of abuse, trauma, CPTSD, feeling whole and fully grounded, right? And not broken in shambles. Honestly, the tools that I'm giving you in this masterclass is how I did it. It's how I continue to create my life. It's what saves my life daily. And there ain't no judgment in the game. So if you're feeling like your life is in shambles, girl, it's okay. I've been there. Join the masterclass. But seriously, I'm giving you the one shift that makes 90% of the difference. I mean, I wish I knew this earlier on my healing journey, because it just it takes everything to the next level. Like when I am implementing this and I take it into meditation, into journaling, into all the wonderful tools out there, like it just magnifies it. I know I'm being super secretive, but that's because I want you to join the class. It's totally free. Not only have I condensed down so many years of coaching practice, self-practice, research study into this masterclass, I'm also going to be doing a giveaway at the very end of the class. So come and join us. Stick to the end if you want a chance to win either the Central Refresher Kit or my Pussy Reset class, or a third option. I don't know. I'm going to change it up every single day. So keeping it exciting, come and join us and bring a notebook because you're going to learn so much. The link to join is in the show notes, in the description box if you're watching on YouTube. uniquebelle.com is the website. It will be somewhere on the site really boldly, easy to find, to join the free masterclass. Isn't that juicy? Okay, come on, sign up. Stop moping about. Click off of this, go sign up. I'll see you in the class. Happy New Year. Wonderful, happy holidays. I'll see you next year in 2024. Also, I don't think I'm going to be adding an intro, so I should probably say it right now. You just listened to the Woman Gone Wild podcast with Unique Belle. Hi. Go binge my other episodes. If you're on winter break or whatever, you got some time, some vacation time, go binge them. Bye.